I'm going to show you how the word Palestine is actually connected with one of Israel's most ancient and most famous enemies, and how the changing of the name for this country, formerly known as Judea, was a strategic part of a certain Roman emperor's plan to destroy the identity of the Jewish people. During the 2nd century, the land of Judea was under Roman rule. The Jews had already seen their temple destroyed in 70 AD, but then in 132 AD, they rose up again, this time under a man named Simon Bar Kokhba. I think I said that right. Kokhba. And the Bar Kokhba revolt was fierce. It lasted about 3 years, and it actually pushed the Romans to their limit. The Roman historian Cassius Dio says that over 500,000 Jews were killed, and many more were enslaved or scattered. After finally crushing this revolt in 135 AD, Emperor Hadrian didn't just want to win the military battle, he wanted to humiliate the Jewish people. So he did 2 things. First, he renamed Jerusalem. He rebuilt it as a pagan Roman city called Aelia Capitolina, and he even forbade the Jews from entering. Second, and more symbolically, he renamed the entire region. No longer would it be called Judea, the land of the Jews. Instead, he called it Syria Palestina. Why Palestina? Because Hadrian had reached deep into Israel's ancient past and pulled out the name of their most hated enemies, the Philistines. He took the word Philistia and Latinized it to Palestina, stamping it on the Jewish land to mock and ridicule and irritate the Jews. This had nothing to do with honoring the Philistines. It was about replacing the Jews' God-given identity with that of an old, defeated enemy. Historian H.H. Ben Sasson says this: "This was a clear political act meant to obliterate the Jewish connection to the land." And Jewish historian David Jacobson calls it a calculated insult. Now, who exactly were the Philistines? Well, do you remember Goliath? That big, famous story about the giant who was slayed by King David? Well, Goliath was a Philistine. In Hebrew, the word for Philistine is Philistine, which means invaders or migrants. Now, by the time of King David, the Philistines had been largely subdued, but their name and what they represented stayed burned and seared into Israel's memory. So what happened next? The name Palestina stuck because Rome had power. Later empires like the Byzantines, the Islamic Caliphates, the Crusaders, and the Ottomans continued to use variations of the term Palestina. During the British Mandate from 1917 to 1948, Palestine referred to the region between the Mediterranean Sea and the Jordan River. But here's something people don't realize. During that time, both Jews and Arabs were called Palestinians. The name was simply geographic. It wasn't national or ethnic. It wasn't until after 1948 when Israel became a nation again, when the term Palestinian shifted almost exclusively to refer to the Arab population in the region. So the term that was once used to erase Israel became a central part of the modern conflict over who belongs in the land. Now today, debates over Palestine are everywhere, but most people don't realize that the very name of the conflict is rooted in an ancient insult. Dang, that's crazy. A Roman act of historical revision designed to cut off Israel from its identity. And despite Emperor Hadrian's best efforts to destroy the Jewish identity, the Jewish people survived. The culture survived and continued on. Despite centuries of exile and persecution and dispersion, they actually were able to return to their own land. And in 1948, the modern state of Israel was born. So even though the name Palestine was used to erase them, the people of Israel are still there. They're still speaking Hebrew. They're still worshiping the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And do you think it coincidence the fact that their ancient enemies still continue to show up, but in new forms? What this should show you is not so much a history lesson as a lesson of spiritual warfare. Satan knows that when the Israelites, the Jewish ethnic people, enter into a revival, there is a widespread awakening and a coming to Jesus Christ. Then the end of time, at least of this age, is really near. So next time you hear the word Palestine, remember, it's more than just a place. It's an actual story. And beneath the surface, it's a story that reminds us that whatever God tries to name, the world will try to rename. And whatever God establishes, the enemy will try to destroy. But God's on the throne. Ain't nobody gonna touch his plan, his purpose, his redemptive history has already been written. For you, for me, for the Jews, everybody. But what it all comes down to is your response to his son, Jesus. Do you or do you not have alliance with him? So I hope you got something out of this video. Please feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions or anything you'd like to say. Shalom, dude. Peace.